So, I just replied to an email from a viewer asking about developing a practice regime as a beginner. They were practicing some basic scales and arpeggios and wanted some structure to their practice. Well, I'm here to give you the biggest tip there is regarding bass practice. Don't worry about scales. Don't worry about reading, don't even worry about technique. The only thing you need to focus on as a beginner, and I mean focus on, is learning songs. That's it. What are you ultimately looking to do as a bass player? Well, granted, some of you might have some curveball ideas about being an Instagram shredder, or maybe even doing something with a bass on OnlyFans, but the majority of you will want to play songs, and I'm guessing that's with a view to playing in a band with other humans. So the cool thing is, you can do that right from the start. As long as you have the basics together, like tuning the bass, holding it, fretting a note and plucking a string, you can get started with learning some very basic songs. And this doesn't just apply to beginners. Learning songs or pieces and building repertoire should be at the core of every bassist's practice, regardless of your level. It's the main thing that we do. All the other stuff is supplementary. Focusing on technique, reading, scales, arpeggios, harmony, and ear training is all great. You know, the bulk of my YouTube lessons and courses are all about that stuff, but they all serve to help with the primary goal of playing and creating music, which for us is playing tunes. And this doesn't just apply to beginners. Learning songs or pieces and building repertoire should be at the core of every bassist's practice, regardless of your level. It's the main thing that we do. All the other stuff is supplementary. Focusing on technique exercises, reading, scales, arpeggios, harmony, and ear training is all great, but they all serve to help with the primary goal of playing and creating music, which for us is playing tunes. So how do we learn songs? Well, you have a couple of options. You either learn a bass line by ear from listening to the original and copying it, or you get the notes from elsewhere. This could be sheet music in a book, some tab site, or maybe even a YouTube video from a weirdo Brit with white hair. Learning songs by ear is the best way because you actually start to develop your ear, but it can be tough at first for a beginner because you don't really have that facility. Instead, getting the written music and listening along is a good middle ground. Your reading of sheet music or tab might not be that developed and your ear might not be that developed, but the combination of the two will help you get a bass line under your fingers. Next, you need to decide what songs to learn. When I was getting started, I had a mixtape of songs that I would use for practice. At first, it contained a bunch of really easy songs like You Really Got Me by the Kinks, but gradually I increased the difficulty. Back then, in the early 90s, I was a big metal fan and I also loved Billy Sheehan. So the tape gradually developed to include a bunch of Metallica, Megadeth, and Anthrax tunes. I'd also learn entire albums. I learned the entire Master of Puppets album by Metallica and the whole Eat 'em and Smile album by David Lee Roth. I spent every waking hour playing songs along to my tapes and records, and the great thing about doing this is you basically get to play in the band. When I played along to Eat 'em and Smile, I was playing with Steve Vai and Greg Bissonette. I'm part of that rhythm section. You still have to lock into the drum beat like you do in a real band setting. Would learning a major scale in 2 octaves help with my learning Yankee Rose? Maybe. Does learning Yankee Rose help with learning Yankee Rose? Yes, it does. So when it comes to deciding on songs, learn the songs that you love, but also learn songs for your level. Make it fun. Practice shouldn't be a drag when you're getting started. If your practice isn't fun as a beginner, you're just going to give up. Your motivation has to be high, otherwise you'll just not want to play. If you're motivated through a love of that initial playing, then any extra stuff will be more easily digested. You'll have a natural interest in taking things further. There's always time to learn all of that theory stuff later, and to be honest, if you don't have a basic repertoire of songs under your fingers, the theory stuff that you do learn will seem totally pointless. You'll have nothing to relate it to. Now, when it comes to deciding on songs, it is worth mentioning that there are going to be 2 main types of songs that you learn. One is riff-based. The other is chord progression based. There are mixtures of the two, but you can help yourself a little by understanding that you're going to be learning either riffs or bass lines that outline chords. Riffs are repetitive by nature. You learn a riff, often 1 or 2 bars in length, and that's it. You repeat it. You might have 1 riff for a verse, 1 riff for a chorus, maybe another riff for a middle 8, and that's it, which means riff-based songs are easy to learn. There isn't too much to memorize. So for beginners, riff-based songs are a great starting point. You Really Got Me by the Kinks is a perfect example. You Really Got Me has got that basic opening riff. F to G, first fret to third fret on the E string. You get that down with the rhythm, and then the rest of the song, all you have is just moving it up 2 frets to A and then across to D, so the same thing on the A string. And then you've got that hold on the C, and that's it. That's the tune. And as a little extra learning tip, don't play along with the original at first. Also, don't try using a metronome. Just get the riff down in your own time, away from any pressure. Learn all the riffs away from the recording. Don't be in too much of a hurry to play to the original. Now, the other type of bass line that you'll encounter works through a chord progression without that repetitive riffage. There's a set of chords, and the bass player will usually outline the root notes, but also add extra notes around them for interest. For this kind of bass line, you need to learn the chord progression itself, which can make things a little longer to memorize. No more difficult, in fact, bass lines like this are usually easier technically, but you're learning a longer progression, not a short riff. So here's an example of a chord progression, and I'll just play along with it, just playing basic root notes. So for that chord progression, all we have is C major, moving down to B flat major, F major, up to G major. So C, B flat, F, and G. And you can play those root notes anywhere you want. So I can play the C there, I can play the B flat there, then move up to the F, up to the G. You're not limited to playing a particular riff. So there, I'm just playing the root notes. So for a C, I play a C. For a B flat, I play a B flat. And I'm just doubling the bass drum. So we had that 1, 2, and 3, 4. 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 So I'm just blending with the drums. I'm locking them with that drum beat and just outlining the chords. And beyond that, you can start to play some extra notes. Creating an interesting or melodic bass line, or literally anything beyond root notes, demands a little more knowledge of harmony. That's where learning all the arpeggios, scales, and chromatic stuff come into play. But as a beginner, you don't need to improvise a bass line like that. You can just learn what the original bassist played. It's how you learn. Now, this might all seem so obvious to a lot of you, but I do get questions asking about this a lot, and I think many beginners maybe want for some extra secret sauce that's, going to take them from not being able to play songs to being able to play songs. Learning songs isn't the eventual goal. It's the immediate priority. Learning easy songs will help with learning slightly harder songs, and slightly harder songs will help with learning much harder songs. That's all there is to it. So, like I said, learning riff bass lines can be the best way to get started as a bass player. And luckily, I've put together a video here featuring a set of 20 essential bass riffs for beginners. So take a look at that lesson and get learning some songs. Don't worry about intricate practice routines at the start. Just learn bass lines because that's what we ultimately all want to do.